You can bring me up. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hangin from the Rafters here at Rafters Tavern in Callicoon, New York. This is episode number 7. We've had 7 of these episodes. Each one has been great. You can look back on YouTube. Each one of those is available for your viewing. My name is Brewster Smith. I'm one of the proprietors here at Rafters Tavern. And before we introduce our guests for tonight, I want to, as I do at the beginning of every show, this here, if you are so inclined, you can donate to www.venmo.com/Rafters-Tavern. If you choose to donate, this helps Rafters Tavern survive during this pandemic. We've been making some great steps. We now have an outdoor space for eating, and although we are allowed to serve people inside, we're going to hold off for a week before we do that, trying to be responsible. You might notice in that vein that there is a piece of plastic here, and this plastic, for everybody's safety, separates our guests for the evening from me. So again, www.venmo.com/Rafters-Tavern. So back to my seat. That being done, I'll put that up there again at the end of the show. But tonight, we have a fantastic guest. Very special indeed. He is a jazz pianist, a composer, arranger, a band leader, educator, and writer. Please, at home, give a big round of applause to Mr. Hal Galper. So you're going to play a song for us to bring us into this?
I think I shall.
All right.
I'm going to play a tune from the album from the same name called Miles Ahead.
Miles Ahead. Hal, do you like my audience in a box? My audience in a small plastic box?
It sounds good, man. It's cheap, too.
It is cheap. Yeah. Well, that was absolutely amazing, and I don't think it would surprise you to know that I can't do that. So you've been doing this a while, yes?
Probably 60 years, close to it now.
Close to 60 years. Now, I think I have the number in my head, but you tell me, how many albums are you on?
104.
I knew it was over 100.
Yeah.
Over 100 albums. When you think about all the albums you've done, is there any one that sticks out in your head that you could say, for whatever reason, that you're most proud of?
It's always the last one.
Always the last one.
Because each one seems to be getting closer and better to what I'm trying to do. And the last album, The Zone, is probably, I peaked.
You think you peaked at The Zone?
I peaked on The Zone. I really don't want to. Bill Evans once mentioned how tough it was to be playing against himself. And luckily, I think I did everything I wanted to do with the music. It took me 60 years to get me to where I wanted to be. But I have no place else less to go. I've done possibly every style of music that there is, and played with all the masters and the product of the apprenticeship system and all that. Mm-hmm. So, but there are a lot of people who have made a hell of a lot more than 104 albums. My goal has always been, I just want to get better.
Yeah.
And I want to play as much as possible. I'm real greedy,
Real greedy for knowledge?
Yeah, greedy for knowledge and greedy for playing time. So all in the final effort is to be myself musically, because we do a lot of modeling of other musicians and to give us the language that we need to explore ourselves. But some people get it right away. It's just, I'm a slow learner, I guess.
Well, I did think it was very interesting. I mean, we met about a year ago, I'd say. Hal actually came in and introduced himself before we ever opened our doors. In fact, he said, if you have a real piano, I just might play. But if you have a keyboard, I will not do it, because I believe you said that the last electric keyboard you had, you threw into the river in London.
No, at the Hudson River.
In the Hudson River. You threw it into the Hudson River. But then you did play a couple times here on the electric piano.
Wait a minute. Yeah. You could ask me that question you asked me earlier.
It was only a couple times. No one's holding that against you. But when I was listening, I went on to iTunes, which, by the way, if you go to iTunes, there are many Hal Galper albums there. And I listened to a bunch of them. And the Hal Galper that I know now, I was surprised when I listened to 1971, the Gorilla Band.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, it was fusion. Exactly. That's what surprised me. Was that it was
like I said, I've done it all.
Yeah, well, I was surprised by that, and then I jumped to 1976 for Reach Out. And I noticed then, because even the Gorilla Band before was rather horn heavy.
Yes.
And you were subdued. Like,
Well, that was a concept album, the one you're talking about, Gorilla Band.
Yeah.
And it was my first album. So I wasn't. A lot of other musicians have done this to kind of hide behind the writing on your first album, So basically, that's what it was kind of about. But it was Mike and Randy also, Breckers, and they were with me on both albums, on many albums, as a matter of fact. So I never had to tell them anything. We just played, and they did exactly the way I heard it.
Well, it sounded great.
Yeah.
I mean, what I heard, I was, like I said, I was really surprised by.
But the interesting thing is what you were asking me about earlier. every phase had to do with me trying to learn something new. Whenever I wanted to learn anything new, I'd start a new band. And then I'd write the music, kind of music I would need to have to learn how to play in order to fit my concept. And then I'd go on the road and play it night after night, take it on the road and get the experience of playing the music and developing it. And it was all, the whole 60 years was devoted to learning how to play, you know. So that was how I learned how to play, at least how to try to find out what my voice was. So,
well, it makes me feel like you're an explorer of sorts. That's just the word that pops into my head. I see
well, yes, and I keep trying, I keep looking. But with the last few years in the rubato style that I came up with on the last album, The Zone, that was a 10-year trip. That was one of the most interesting experiences because music was taking us. We were not imposing ourselves on the music. And we had a hiatus for a month or two and get back together again. And we didn't get back together where we left off. We got back together ahead of where we left off. Every time we got back together. It's as if we've been playing of mulching. I don't know what you call it.
Mulching.
Yeah, you know.
That's great.
But it was that trio was just pretty fantastic with Jeff and John.
Wow.
It was they were crazy enough to follow me anywhere.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, I'm just guessing, right? But you're probably a fairly intimidating guy to play with. If you've ever seen Hal play, he was playing here before the pandemic. He was playing here every Sunday, and to see him play with his trio was magic. And it seemed to be almost no matter who you were playing with. Yes, there's different variations and all that, but the way you guys, whoever it is, are always watching each other so closely and playing off each other. I mean,
yes,
it was like a great movie. Like with plot twists and everything.
Well, no matter what band you're in, eyeballing is important.
Yeah.
Because that's the way you communicate sometimes. You might, there may have been an interlude written that you'd play sometime, in the middle of a solo. So if you weren't going to play it, you could at least go, make a no move,
Right.
So they would watch my facial expressions, and I'd watch theirs, and hands as well. It's a very visual thing up here. Nobody ever mentions it, how visual it is, but
yeah.
It's there's a lot of signaling going on among the three of us. So, and we're each taking sometimes multiple roles or alternating roles. So, but yeah. Actually, they have no choice but to be looking at me because they never know what I'm going to do next.
Well, I know, and I think if I was ever up here playing with you, I'd have a heart attack before the night is over because I would just be like so nervous about screwing up and not being able to see your hands. Some of these guys can't see your hands, and it's only your face that they can see.
Well,
yeah,
there's no such thing as a mistake.
No such thing as a mistake.
No, only opportunity.
Well, then I'm full of opportunity.
Yeah.
All right.
A mistake is a chance to go in a little doorway into someplace else.
Yeah.
And most people get all messed up when they make a mistake, but mistakes are chaos, and chaos means the sign for chaos in Chinese also means opportunity.
Oh,
it's always a chance to let it take you someplace maybe you hadn't thought of.
Well, then I feel better already.
Yes.
All right. What are you going to play for?
I call it creative mistake making.
Creative mistake making. That's great. What are you going to play for us next?
Oh, I have something here. Star Eyes, more or less.
Star Eyes. All right.
Yeah.
More or less.
Yeah, more or less.
I love
No time did my fingers leave my hands.
that. No time. Before I forget,
Yes.
some of you guys know that Molly is here, not on camera, my wife Molly, and she's monitoring the computer, how the lights look and everything like that. Sweet love,
Yes.
could you take a moment to please remind the kitchen that Hal at 9 o'clock would love
Don't
fish and
tell them.
chips.
Don't give away.
Secret.
The fish and chips with 3 pieces of fish. Okay, one of the traditions. Okay. Through some of my research, something intrigued me. You do some writing, and I noticed that you have done at least one, perhaps a few articles on stage fright.
Yes.
What can you tell me about stage fright? Maybe a couple rules or thoughts on it.
There's only one reason to be on a bandstand performing. That's fun. Fun. Because fun is the original reason you started. It's the root reason for your being on a bandstand and being in front of people. But sometimes in the quest for knowledge, we lose sight of that and we get away from our root cause, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you get nervous because you're insecure. You're not in your natural environment. So it happens sometimes. It's happened to me a couple of times in my life because I got so interested in a particular idea or direction. I was more interested in working that out than anything else. Anyway, the difference, that's, to me, that's the root reason for stage fright. And the reason it occurs is because you're taking performance seriously. And you're supposed to take the study of the music seriously, but the performance of it, you're supposed to have fun. But one tends to bring, especially if you're doing a lot of practicing, like I did, to bring a practicing attitude, which is goal-oriented. I'm going to work hard to achieve this goal, towards performance, which is process-oriented. It's not, your focus changes from what you're doing to how you're doing it. And that's what you spend most of your life trying to figure out how to do, is how to do what you've learned. But the two mentalities are completely different. You can't bring the intellectual part, your ego, to the bandstand because you invest too much into the performance. It means too much to you, Mm-hmm. It should be fun, lighthearted, playful. And we're all born playful. It's a natural instinct, but over time, society, they want predictable citizens. So they kind of beat that playful. They don't want the guy at the electric company turning the dial saying, gee, what will happen if I do this? They want real.
Would you say you're a predictable citizen?
No.
Not by a long shot.
No.
All right, so let me ask you this. That all makes
so that's taking it too seriously, basically.
Yeah. So that makes perfect sense. But let's say that, when stage fright hits, it's largely a physical feeling, like an emotion. So what happens if intellectually and understand what you've said, but then you're on stage and you find yourself feeling that way? Is there anything in your mind that you can do to help get beyond that moment?
Well, it's funny because I was just thinking about that very answer as you were asking me the question. In one instance, I was with Phil Woods' quintet for many years, and he had the Coda Festival every Labor Day weekend, and I played there many times. But one of the times, my rhythm section wasn't available, so I got a bass player and drummer from New York, wonderful, wonderful players. And the bass player had played rubato. He had played a lot with Rashid Ali, so he knew what I was doing. But the drummer hadn't, but he wanted to learn how to play it. So we did have one rehearsal just to go over the tunes. And before the concert, I'm sitting backstage thinking about. I'm wondering if the guy's going to do okay and whether I'm going to be able to play and we're going to get some magic going. I'm thinking about it. I'm saying, what can I do? But all of a sudden I realized, I'm thinking totally wrong way. So I said, fudge it. I'm just going to go out there and be silly. And it came out great. As soon as I said, I don't care, I used to have a routine that I did.
Yeah.
I had 3 aspects to it. To try to divest myself of putting too much importance to the act of playing, because it's got to be fun. So first one was, I don't care how I sound. Well, what are the reasons for that? Well, because nobody knows how anybody sounds. No two people hear the same way, which means everybody hears everybody else completely differently. So why should I care how I sound? And then I had another one, the cosmic insignificance of it all.
Cosmic insignificance.
And I would visualize myself on the moon, looking through the wrong end of the telescope at a little bandstand in New York City, playing, and the cosmic insignificance was overwhelming.
I can see that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So, and then another one was, I don't care. I don't care how I play. I don't care how I sound. That's really the one they were mantras. I mean, sports people do mantras before they go out to play. They psych themselves up, right? They go through routines. But I psych myself down because I'm already psyched up. I don't need to be psyched up. I need to be, if I'm got stage fright, I got to be psyched down. So basically, I just developed routines that try to divest the experience as a challenge, but just to go out and have a good time.
So if you were going to have, say, a quote on a T-shirt, the quote, and underneath it says Hal Galper would be, I don't care.
Fudge it.
Fudge it. I like that even better. Fudge it.
More or less.
All right.
I said that to I was backstage after I've been teaching a clinic at a college, and I had given this advice to a young trombone player at high school, trombone player in the big band. He was all nervous and everything, so I gave him this advice. I said, just keep saying fudge it. You fudge it, right? Just keep saying fudge it. After the concert, he came back and said, it worked. I loved it.
I have a feeling that fudge is not the actual word.
No.
That's just hitting me now.
Yes.
Well, what would you play something else for him?
Well, sure, since you asked.
All right. Do you know what you're going to play next?
I can't get started.
I can't get started. All right. Another fantastic song. You know what I really enjoyed there was, as a drummer, I learned a long time ago to have an internal metronome going.
Mm.
And I'm sitting here and I have my internal metronome going to your music. And even in all its complexity, I can still feel the distinct pulse. You must have an internal metronome like clockwork going.
Once the tempo is set, I can't change it.
I have to tell you what Janet Leeper said. She said the complicated music he builds reminds me of Gaudi's Cathedral.
So say that again, nice and loud, so everybody can hear.
The complicated music he builds reminds me of Gaudi's Cathedral.
Oh, how nice!
Oh, okay.
And Marjorie Morrow says it's great to hear you live again.
Oh, thank you.
Well, for those of you watching, think about questions that you would like to ask. There's a question that I'm about to ask, and then afterwards, I'm going to see if there's anything that you would like to know about Hal Galper. My question to you is, as I was perusing your discography, I came across a song called Waiting for Chet.
Oh, you got
And I know that you spent some time playing with Chet Baker, just one of the many people you've played with in your career. And I was curious if there was a story behind that song.
There's a story behind every song.
Was he habitually late? Is it about him, by the way?
Yes, it is. Well, Chet was my first big time jazz band on the road gig.
Yeah.
Leaving home. So we're talking about '69, but he wove his way through my life, in and out, many times, because he liked the way I played for him. Although he did say on one album he didn't like the way I comped. But thanks, Chet. Anyway, so we were playing in Rome one summer at a place called the Music Inn, which was a cave, a Le Cave. And the club owner had lent him the club for the summer so he could run it himself and keep the profits on and stuff, So unfortunately, he didn't tell Chet that nobody is in Rome during the summer. Nobody. They're all. So he wasn't paying the booze bills, and hardly anybody was showing up. And so when it come time to get paid, he was $800 short.
Wow.
So ever since then, I've been waiting for my money. Ergo, waiting for Chet.
That's hilarious. That's funny.
I really love this playing, So I wasn't about to go bust his chops just for the $800. I just use these guys, these masters. The respect you had for them is just so. They're all awesome.
Yeah.
They all got awe. So you don't want to. You can't get past that awe you have. With them. You say yes, sir. He tells you to do something. You stand up and salute and do it. Even if you don't understand why they told you to do it. It used to happen a lot. Say, hey boy, do this. You did it. And then later you found out why he told you to do it.
Well, clearly you guys had a musical relationship in which you got along. Did that actually extend to? Did you like each other personally, or was it? We closer to business.
It was business. We got along. Of course, there was the addiction problem,
right.
But also Chet was real foxy, but he wasn't that bright. And I love his playing. What can I tell you? It's Orange playing. He never practices. Plays totally by ear. Doesn't know a note of music. Right. And he's just all the other trumpet players hate him. They have to practice. But I don't know what to say. For instance, like I'm playing up Fat Tuesdays with Phil Woods' quintet, and he comes in with a cane. He's limping. It's a Saturday night. He shouldn't be anywhere coming into a club on a Saturday night. Obviously, no gigs. But I knew why he was there. So the set was over. I go in the back. And he says, "Hal," he says, "I got a gig coming up in the Village Vanguard in 3 weeks. You want to make it?" I said, "Sure, man." He says, "Can you front me $100 till we get the?"
Oh no.
With Chet, it was sure, Chet, here, whatever he wanted. You can't get past that wall. Chet,
Wow.
Whatever you want,
That's a great story.
But as a person, we're driving up Broadway one sunny afternoon in his T-Bird, top down, driving slow. No, we're not saying anything to each other at all. We're just enjoying the drive. And he says, Hal, if I'm not saying anything, it just means that I'm not thinking anything. So don't feel bad if you don't get uncomfortable. I said, Chet, you have to be dead not to be thinking anything. Of course you're thinking something. He looked at me with a quizzical look. But, so we weren't on the same intellectual plane, but we sure were on the same musical plane. I'll say that.
Wow. Well, Molly raised her hand, and so I know that there's probably some questions out there.
A couple questions. The first is, where are you from?
Where are you from?
From whom is the question?
That is from Janet Leeper. She was guessing Vermont or Massachusetts.
I'm from Salem, Massachusetts.
Wow.
she's
Hey.
Good. Well, you can hear the accent.
good. And then Sandra Carey has asked, besides jazz, what other music do you enjoy playing, or do you?
Besides jazz, what other music do you enjoy playing, or do you enjoy
None
playing?
other.
No, none other. All right.
Just jazz.
Just jazz.
And Elizabeth Rose is asking, have you been particularly influenced by Art Tatum, Oscar Peterson, and or Bill Evans? And who would you say is your greatest influence?
Listen, when I was coming up, I wanted to play everything I heard that somebody else could play. So all those people she mentioned, yes.
Yes.
Yes to everybody.
Yes to everybody, because I stole from the best is what I was advised. But my greatest influence was Ahmad Jamal. He doesn't get the credit he's due. He's up there with Duke Ellington and Louis Armstrong and Charlie Parker in terms of his effect on jazz. He invented the modern rhythm section. Miles took the idea as his own, and that's when the cool school started. It's a long story, but anyway, he hasn't gotten the respect he's due. He's an amazing piano player. I always wanted to wish I could play like him, but even if I knew what he was playing, I doubt if I could play it.
Really?
Yeah.
'Cause, you seem to know what you're doing, and I'd be surprised that you wouldn't be able to do that.
Because he's phenomenal. I'm just astounded by him all the time. He's had the greatest influence, for sure.
All right. Are there any other questions? If not, I would love to hear another song. All right. What's it going to be?
Thank you. Thank you. How much time do we have?
It is 8:48.
One more tune?
Yeah, depending on how long it is.
Huh?
Depending on how long it is, we could
never
maybe
know.
fit two.
I never know. I want to play something else.
So much for that.
How'd you do?
This is it. There you go. That's great. You know, as you were playing that, the question popped into my head. These are the kind of things I think of. So you told us a little bit of your time with Chet Baker, and I know that you also played with Stan Getz. If we could snap our fingers now, and one of those two guys would appear here in the room for you to play with, Stan Getz or Chet Baker, which would you rather show up?
Neither.
Neither? Well, I'm curious as to why it would be neither.
Well, they're both about the same. Really, they're both self-taught. They both play by ear. They don't know a note of music. And they're both great players. But Stan, if you ask the right, when Stan gets, please stand up. No one would get up. There was no real Stan gets.
Really?
Yeah. No, he was a great guy. He was really funny. When he was dying, Phil Woods called him up and said, "I want to write you a tune, Stan. What kind of tune should I write?" He says, "Something celestial."
Something celestial.
Yeah. He had a great sense of humor. I only played with him a year. I never did record with him. I was playing electric piano when we were doing the Chick Corea book.
Electric piano?
I was still playing it.
Didn't we go over that already?
I was playing it with Stan. This is before Canon.
So what was the final draw on electric piano that you said no more? Was there a night?
Yeah, sometime last year.
No. That you made a very kind concession to try out that piano, but before that,
what was it?
What made you throw it in the river?
I'll tell you, because I thought I was trying to analyze why I was playing the damn thing, and I realized that there was a lot of nuances in it, but that I could get the same nuances out of the acoustic piano, and I realized, I haven't been taking care of my own responsibilities. If I want to get that out of the piano, I was not happy with my acoustic playing at the moment. Mm-hmm. So this was a way to get away from that and not be bothered by it. But I finally realized, Hal, you're cheating on yourself. You better. It happens a lot. But I have to remind myself I better take care of business. So that's why I wanted to make a commitment that I wasn't going to play another electric piano. That if I wanted something out of the piano, I had to get it myself.
So no musical shortcuts for you.
Huh?
No musical shortcuts for you.
No. If I wanted, I got to work for it. And it was one of the best moves I ever made.
All right. Well, if you don't mind, before we hear one last song, if you would indulge us to do that, I just want to once again before the end here put in our little plug, our little commercial. Does this even show up, or is it too bright?
In and out. Put
there we
closer.
go.
There it is.
There's a little better. If, as you know, the pandemic is difficult on many, many businesses, and we are no different. Even though they are saying that you can open up a little bit at a time, make no mistake, it's still a struggle. And if you would like to donate to our musical cause, then you could do so by going to www.venmo.com/Rafters-Tavern. And that's the last time I will do that in these last few minutes. I would like to say, Hal, first of all, are you going to play another song?
I hadn't. There's not one on the list, but I can make up something in a second.
All right. If you can make up something in a second, I would say before you do that, I would just like to say that we are so happy that you walked in the door of Rafters Tavern.
Me too.
And we're very fortunate to have you. You've done a lot for this place, and we're.
No, I have got to. You're the greatest club owner you guys are the greatest club owners I ever met.
No.
The best.
Well, that's high praise.
You don't even deserve to be called club owners because it's a dirty word.
It's a dirty word. Well, that's very kind of you to say, but thank you. Thank you for doing the show tonight.
Oh, my pleasure.
All right. Would you like to play us out?
Oh, wow. Why not? Now I can play it. So.
All right. Did you really just make that up?
Oh, no.
Does it already have a title?
Getting sentimental over you.
Getting Sentimental Over You. Can we call it for tonight? Can we just call it Get Well Soon to My Mother Who Broke Her Wrist? It's kind of a long title, but can we call it that tonight?
We call it what?
Get Well Soon to My Mother Who Has a Broken Wrist.
Oh. I'm not understanding your question.
We're just going to name that song.
For
Get
her
Well
broken
Soon
wrist.
to My Mother
Oh.
Broken Wrist.
Oh, I hope it
for
helps.
her. I hope it helps too. So thank you, everybody. Go to iTunes, as I did today, and just do a search for Hal Galper. A ton of stuff is going to come up, and there's going to be a lot there that you want to have, especially In the Zone is the latest album, right?
Right.
So please do that. Round of applause for Hal Galper. Except for my mother, do not applause. Your wrist is in a cast. Everyone else, applause for Hal Galper. And hopefully we will see you all next Saturday at 8 o'clock at Hangin from the Rafters. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.